When I was 21 years old, I was working a job that I absolutely hated. I was a recruiter at a staffing agency, and my job was to make cold calls all day long. And my leadership would get paid bonuses based on how well the people underneath them performed. So they had nothing better to do than to micromanage us all day. And it was the most degrading thing I've ever experienced. They would track all of our phone calls. They would dig into the call logs and then ask a bunch of questions about the phone calls we had. And then they would set these impossible goals where we were supposed to have two in person interviews a day and also make 50 cold calls. No one ever hit that goal. And on top of that, the pay was horrible. My salary was 30K a year, and we were required to work 55 hours a week. So if you do the math on that, I was making about $10.50 an hour for a job that required a college degree. To put that in perspective, I could have been making more money and working less hours at McDonald's. The final slap in the face is that I was $40,000 in debt because I had just graduated college. So I was officially a wage slave living paycheck to paycheck, and it was hell. I couldn't afford to buy a house. I couldn't afford to go on vacation. I couldn't afford to eat out. I thought going to college was supposed to improve my standard of living, yet here I was eating cheap garbage food every day because it's the only thing that I could afford. It was so bad that one day I was driving to work and I thought to myself, if I got hit by a car right now, I'd be okay with that because I would rather deal with a car accident than go to work and deal with my manager crawling down my back asking about every single phone call that I've made. So when I arrived at work that morning, I sat in my car in the parking lot for probably 10 minutes and just watched people walk into the office. And I realized right there that I was going to quit. The fact that I was fantasizing about getting in a car accident so I wouldn't have to go into work finally hit me. So I called my manager and I put in my 2 weeks notice. And it was the most freeing experience I've ever had. It was like the air around me was suddenly cleaner and I could actually take a full breath. So you might be thinking, why did you even accept that job in the first place if you could have been working less hours, making more money at McDonald's? And long story short is they lied to me. They told me I could make a bunch of money on commission, and it just turns out that wasn't true. Staffing agencies are basically legal pyramid schemes, and I'll leave it at that. So, anyway, I ended up finding another job at a bank where I worked less hours and I made more money, but I was still treated like crap. I was still dealing with micromanaging. And I realized something. The reason why people are treated like crap at work is because they're replaceable. I was replaceable. I was replaceable because I didn't have any hard skills. I had a degree in economics, which was all theory, and nobody cares about theory. So the only way to make sure that you're treated well at work is to have hard skills. Learning hard skills is how you become difficult to replace, and coding is a hard skill. So while I was working at the bank, I took night classes for 2 years and I learned how to code. And because of that, I'm now a software engineer and I'm treated with respect at work. I've made enough money to buy a house. I make enough money to support my wife and baby, and I can afford good food at the grocery store, not just ramen noodles. And it's still worth learning to code today. And I'll tell you why. You've probably heard the saying, every company is a tech company because nowadays every company has a website, they've got internal software tools, they've got databases of customer information. Well, here's my hot take: every job is a tech job. Think about it. Almost every job requires a computer, and you have to juggle multiple software applications to get your work done. And our use of computers is only increasing. Now, imagine you know how to code so you can automate the boring parts of your job and you can spend more time thinking about the big picture problems. That's when you start to move up and make money. So I hope this serves as some inspiration for you. Don't spend your whole life as a wage slave. Learn hard skills, learn to code, and you'll be treated like a decent human being.